What I'd like to do is invite Caroline Gainsbury from Ormond Street Hospital to give us an overview. There's a big meeting in Rome earlier this year in June in what's known as the EAT conference, EAT, which was a week-long conference held in the Eternal City. And I guess it was lucky for those who could get there. Rome's always great to visit, but Caroline's going to give us an overview, or I guess, sound bites of that meeting. And then after that, I'm told we have 15 minutes for questions. And that's when you ask the floor, all the speakers if you want. And then we'll try and wrap up and everybody get home to whatever you're planning to do this evening. Okay, Caroline, so you're very welcome.
My name's Caroline Gainsbury. Just first of all, apologies, I'm not very good at technology and it's all in capital letters and comes out strange times and I didn't know how to do anything about it. So I'm a clinical nurse specialist at Great Ormond Street. I've originally worked in urology surgery and moved to general surgery about 6-7 years ago, and 4 or 5 years ago set up complex care CNS team with one of the surgeons there and my colleague Julie, who's over there. So we work with a whole range of different general surgery conditions, but we've both got a special interest in the kind of long-term conditions such as TOF and anal rectal malformation. So we're working towards writing pathways and setting up MDT clinics with the surgeons there. So I was really lucky to be able to go to Rome in June, and it was the 5th International Conference of Esophageal Atresia. I'm sorry, my spelling of esophagus switches between European and English. And it was also the 2nd international meeting of the paediatric airway teams, which obviously we work really closely with Great Ormond Street with the tracheal team, the children with tracheal Malaysia and aortopexies and such like. So what was it about? It was hosted and organised by the Children's Hospital in Rome with support and collaboration with the European Support Group for Esophageal Atresia and the European Federation of Family Support Groups, but it welcomed people from all over the world. So, as was said earlier, since the first successful primary esophageal atresia repair in 1941, the improvements in kind of perioperative care and post-operative care have led from it being about survival and then long-term survival to actually quality of life. There was over 200 people from around the world met at this conference to discuss best treatment and management options, and generally how to improve the overall outcomes of these children. I think it's one of the few one-condition-only conferences that happens in the world. So who came? There was a huge range of allied health professionals, and there was workshops, surgical discussions, family and allied health professionals having lectures, and I mean just an amazing amount of people and people doing different things. Oops. So obviously I can't mention everything that happened there, so I thought what I would talk about is the main points that made a real impact on me. So obviously there was a lot about surgical care and then a lot about ongoing care. I think there's over 120 abstracts, and there was quite a lot of reoccurring themes. So from the surgical point of view, which is obviously more relevant to all the surgeons there was what you expected. But then a lot of this led into what I was really interested in, which was a lot of talk about the importance of consensus and centre specialisation. And I think this is a real hot topic at the moment, and I know was mentioned earlier. I think it's really important that people share information, share studies, and it can. And it struck me kind of how important it is and how important people felt it was to not just avoid duplication, but also to kind of see what everybody does best and what everyone's experiences have been. And I know from the TOF Facebook page, lots of parents will share stories, and it might be that their child is the only child in their centre that's had that complication. And actually, it's the same for the surgeons. They might find there's so few TOFs born in the UK that each centre might only have that one complication once every 10 years. So the same way that parents share their experiences, surgeons share their experiences. The need for multidisciplinary team approach to care. And again, we've talked about this a lot today, and there's a lot of different people from different MDTs here, which is great. And I think you could argue that TOF OA after the initial surgery is no longer a surgical condition, but it doesn't fit nicely into gastro, ENT, respiratory or general peds, which is why it stays with general surgery. But I think it shows how important it is that everybody does work as an MDT for the best interests for the child and the family. And then the last thing was support groups and the continued collaboration with support groups and parent groups. I think in an unpredictable condition like TOF and OA, we really learn from parents and families. I know when Julie and I set up our service, we learn wholly from parents what information to give other parents and have a continuing learning and sharing other people's experiences with the next family that comes through. And I think the family is part of a team, and the support groups are kind of the voice for the wider families. There was one particular talk in Rome from a lady who, from South Africa, who was a surgeon, had operated on TOF OA children, and then had a esophageal atresia baby herself. And she said that actually her experiences, and it was around the consent procedure, as a mother of a TOF baby, then led to the hospital changing their practice. And I think it's really important that parent groups do lobby and talk and tell us as kind of medical professionals what works better and what is good and what is bad, because ultimately everybody wants the best for children and families, but surgeons can't change the way they do things or the way they aftercare and things unless we get fed back how that works. This was just a quote that I liked about that. I really liked the collaboration. There was a worldwide thing, that it was people from all across Europe, Egypt, America, South America, and I think this is very true. And actually in these rare conditions, as a big worldwide group, we have more knowledge. And another quote I really like from Lewis Spitz, but then also continued by a lady who is a parent of a adult TOF, and that there's a child around the esophagus, but there's also a family around the child. And this might be a resource or a restriction, but in both cases we should advise on an adequate plan. When I first read that, I thought, was that a bit rude to families? But actually it was written by a mother. And I think actually part of a lot of what Julie and I do as CNSs is work with families that do struggle to engage or can't tap into services. And I think all parents here fall into the resource group by the very fact that you're here. But lots of families, for many different reasons, can't engage and don't know how to engage. And I think it's really important as an MDT that we work towards engaging with those people and helping them fulfill and their kids to get the best they can possibly get as well. And there's just one final thing that I thought was really great. And actually it was Mr. Lander who spoke at the conference last year, talked about the help he was giving developing countries with surgeons developing their skills. And I think the success rate in developing country is a lot low because of the aftercare, and I think things like the ventilators and ventilator infections. But I think it's fantastic the support the surgeons are getting there to kind of develop the skills and hopefully move forward. Thank you.